Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Sorry, laughing, because I know what I'm about to tell you. Lorna Slater, the minister responsible for DRS, and the minister for whom all blame must lie, is an incredibly stupid woman. We know this. She kept trying to blame the failure of DRS on the British government. It had nothing to do with the British government. She kept saying, oh, you impose this and you impose that. And that's not, strictly speaking, true, is it, Lorna? Because the Gateway Review, which is the kind of a report that goes in before you start a scheme, it sort of outlays the way that it will work and the people involved, the costs, that sort of thing. So they have this review. And she herself released this review last night. Late last night, hopefully on the thought that nobody was paying attention. People were paying attention, and so it's been read and digested, and we're going to do this video on it now. There's an article here in the Herald, and basically it says that the report that she's released shows that even before the British government got involved, it was doomed to fail because it was so ill thought out and just really wouldn't work. It's what people have been saying from day one. Now, this review was kept top secret, but under freedom of information, it had to be released. So, yes, released in the wee small hours, in the vain hope that it gets released when everyone's fast asleep. Oh dear, Lorna, it's come back to bite you. Let's have a look at this report and see why Lorna Slater truly is a moron. Here we go. Now, of course, she's the one who commissioned this report. She knew about this report. She read this report. So she knew when it came out that it would never ever be Westminster's fault. And yet she insisted all the way through, it's Westminster's fault, it's Westminster's fault. She must have been hoping this report would never see the light of day. Unlucky. Here we go. Official report warned the DRS recycling scheme was riddled with problems. Say it ain't so. The Scottish Government's ill-fated drinks recycling scheme was riddled with problems and mired in uncertainty before Westminster effectively halted it, a previously secret official report has revealed. Lorna Slater, the Scottish Green Minister in charge, well, she's the figurehead. She's not really in charge, is she? You wouldn't trust her to make the tea. Released the government's own Gateway Review into the deposit return scheme on Wednesday night. Very late last night it was. It showed that months before the UK government imposed fatal restrictions on the scheme, I don't think it was fatal. Even the people running it said, no, we can do it without glass. So I think a little bit of bad journalism there, a little bit of bias perhaps, is creeping in. It wasn't fatal. But officials were reporting widespread uncertainty over how it would work in practice. It was conducted in early March. The review found indecision, inaction, and a severe lack of confidence, and called for a system-wide governance refresh. In other words, basically, it was handing it back saying, please start again. This is rubbish. That is why she cannot blame Westminster. Westminster weren't involved in any of this. This is all down to Lorna Slater and her very poor choice and decision-making process. It gave the project an amber/red status, meaning a successful delivery was in doubt, with major risks or issues apparent in a number of key areas, with urgent action needed to ensure these are addressed and establish whether resolution is even feasible. Basically, they were saying that this report was saying that the DRS scheme couldn't work, wouldn't work, was incapable of working in its present form. It needed major changes. It would be easier to scrap it and start again than it would be to retool the existing processes. And it would be it would be ill-handled throughout every decision. Every decision was the wrong decision. That's what this report's saying. But that line there, when we go back, saying establish whether resolution is feasible. In other words, saying the whole project was not feasible. Way before Westminster got involved. So it goes to show that Lorna Slater standing there going, oh, it's Westminster's fault. No, it isn't, Lorna. And you knew it wasn't. You're a liar. You're an absolute liar. Anyway, it found the SNP's own leadership contest in the spring had created much uncertainty because people were reluctant to act until a new First Minister had been chosen. The UK government... So blame Sturgeon then. It's Sturgeon's fault, not Westminster's. Anyway, the UK government's delay in ruling whether the scheme was compatible with the post-Brexit UK Internal Market Act was also regarded as a significant blocker. No, the UK government responded very, very quickly. It's just that the Green Minister in charge didn't put the paperwork in until March the 11th. Should have been in 2 years ago. Anyway, some industry figures criticised the Scottish Government's insistence on launching in August as the worst possible month, as the soft drinks market was at peak levels amongst summer festivals, and said a quieter February or October launch would be better. The review said a series of problems, some originating in Edinburgh and some in London, was creating confusion and inconsistency which will be apparent for an August launch. Most of the problems were Edinburgh because they were coming out of Lorna Slater's tiny wobbling brain. The London question is they keep pushing back to this. London didn't commit. London didn't say. London didn't have the paperwork. London said, where's your impact assessments? Oh, we haven't done them. Hand it back. Go and do the impact assessments. If you're not prepared to do the job, don't be expected that there's going to be a delay. It said collectively these issues, among many, many other system operation uncertainties, are creating indecision, inaction and a severe lack of confidence at the very time when actions and decisions are critical to delivering a working system with smooth operation. Nothing will work. Nothing is smooth. This is the SNP. They don't do efficient. This presents practical difficulties for several parties involved as they are unable to make robust plans for their parts of the whole system operation. In other words, nobody knew what was going on, so nobody could really run with it. Nobody could say, right, well, we must get that in place by this date because... but when's it going? Well, we don't know. We'll hold off a minute then, and that's what's happening. And that happens all the way down. It's systemic then, isn't it? Almost every stakeholder expressed the need for clarity and certainty in order to help them invest and plan with confidence. Nobody was telling them anything. Nobody had any concrete plans or concrete timings or concrete costs. Nobody knew. Everyone was guessing. And that's why it was doomed to fail. Unless you actually know what you're doing, you're not going to succeed, are you? Fail to plan to fail. They said it was noted that any lack of certainty was also inhibiting the industry and the public engagement. Yeah, well, no, people will go, well, what's going on? Well, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know. Can you tell us? No. And the SNP were being asked, the Greens were being asked, when's this what do we need to do for this? When does this start? What do we need for that? How much is this going to cost? All these questions. They couldn't answer the questions. They didn't have a clue. The SNP Green government, well, really it's the Green government of Scotland now, isn't it? Promoted the DRS as a way to reduce littering and improve recycling of single-use plastic and glass drink and bottles and cans. Glass in general, is recycled at 90%. It's one of the most recycled products on the planet. So you didn't need to worry about that. Single-use plastics, I'll give you. But you could have gone ahead with it for the single-use plastics. But you chose not to make a political football out of it so you could hopefully score a goal against Westminster. Westminster were having none of it and it's coming back to bite you. Consumers would have paid a 20p refundable deposit on each container, then redeemed it when it was returned to a store or recycling machine. However, many small drink producers refused to sign up to the scheme because it was unwieldy, expensive and would have driven up costs. And also, at a time when the cost of living is so high, you're expecting people to lay out more money up front. People haven't got it. After becoming FM, Humza Yousaf announced in April that the DRS was being delayed from August the 16th to March next year to get business on board. Businesses still did not get on board. But in May, the UK government refused to grant the scheme under an exemption of the IMA unless glass was removed, because the glass industry went to the government and said, look, we already have a massively successful glass recycling scheme. It works, it's in place, everybody knows about it, let's not mess with it. And the government said, yes, you're right, let's leave glass out. And then the SNP went into meltdown because they needed glass, because they needed the money. The plan was that they'd take all this glass, that'd be their glass, they'd sell it back to the glass industry. But as the glass industry said, it's only useful to them because it's free. less a bit of transport costs, it's free glass because it's lower quality. It's not worth anything to them, but they can use it to make things, and so the scheme basically pays for itself. The transport costs and the extra handling costs are made up by the cost of reusing the glass, and there is a profit in it, but it's not much of a profit, but it's enough that this continues to be used. You take that out, you take the free glass out and they have to pay for the glass, they're not going to buy it because they don't get any profit at all out of it, and so the scheme falls apart. But you can't tell people who are stupid facts because they just don't understand them. Anyway, the Scottish Government refused, this is the Glass Act, complaining of Westminster overreach, and then delayed the DRS to October 2025 when the UK-wide version is due to begin. That left the private company administering the scheme, Circularity Scotland, without an income, and it went into administration almost immediately with the loss of up to 60 jobs and the loss of £9 million of public money loaned to it by the state-funded Scottish National Investment Bank. £9 million money up in smoke because Lorna Slater won't listen to the experts. Sending the review to Holyrood's Net Zero Committee, Ms Slater said it had found that the two critical high-impact blockers to DRS delivery at this point were the lack of IMA exclusion that she didn't apply for and a lack of clarity on display of pricing from the UK government. No, you announce it and then you put it in and you put a notice on. That's got nothing to do with the UK government. The UK government weren't implementing the scheme. The Scottish government was. So you've got the two things she's blaming on was the UK government, which isn't anything to do with them. They're not the ones putting the 20p on. The Scottish government is. It's up to the Scottish government to show people where the 20p is going, number one. And secondly, she's saying, oh, we didn't get the IMA exemption. You're the one who didn't send it in until the 11th of March. How are they going to do it? You know, if you send the paperwork in late and don't send it in fully because there was no impact assessments, what do you expect? Don't be blaming other people for your shortcomings, Lorna. Anyway, she said, the review noted the uncertainty created by the UK government's delay in issuing an IMA exclusion. They didn't delay it. They put it out very, very quickly. We know that. They put it in on the 11th of March and it was granted on something like the first week of May. There was no delay. 6 weeks in times, or 5 weeks, isn't it? 5 weeks in terms of government, something like that. The turnaround. That's astounding. Oh, that'd be... Oh, what's 6 weeks, say? 6 weeks turnaround in government is astoundingly quick. And she's saying it was a delay. No, they put it out, they returned it within 6 weeks, Lorna. So don't tell me that. If you were late putting it in, that's an entirely different matter. Anyway, she said, the chilling effect of these blockers made a go-live date of August impossible. And as a result, the First Minister announced a delay until March 2024. That was his way of saying he wanted it dropped. The review also noted there was a need to renew system-wide governance to ensure clear delivery and control of the full DRS problem. This is Lorna Slater saying. She said, in response to this, we reviewed all the governance structures. The new governance structure enabled us to work closely with businesses to work through remaining issues to allow for a successful launch prior to the IMA decision by the UK government. Still blaming the government, Lorna. Not the government's fault. Your fault. She said, ultimately, the key blocker noted within the review, the IMA exclusion, meant that Scotland's DRS scheme, as approved by the Scottish Parliament, could no longer proceed. Yes, it could. Everyone told you it could. The recycling industry said it, yes, it could. Circularity Scotland said, yes, it could. All the experts in the field said, yes, it could. You decided, no, it couldn't. You're a liar. You're an absolute liar. She said, instead, we are working with the UK government to develop revised plans for a more limited scheme that would go live in October 2025 at the earliest. She's saying a more limited scheme. What she means is exactly the same scheme. You know, recycle everything except glass because that's already recycled. The woman cannot help opening her mouth, letting the stupid pour out, followed by lies. A UK government source said the Scottish government only made a formal application for an IMA exemption on March the 6th. I think I said March the 11th. But anyway, first week of March. And that London offered a way to let the DRS work. The source said the UK government acted quickly to give a partial exemption that could have salvaged the Scottish government's botched scheme in a way that was acceptable to business and consumers. Furthermore, Circularity Scotland said the scheme could go ahead on that basis. It was the Scottish government who delayed the scheme. This is entirely a mess of their own making. And that comes from the UK government. They're saying that the Scottish government delayed it and it is a mess of their making. That's the official standing of the UK government. It's what we all know. It's what everybody with half a brain knows. The only people who can't accept it are the morons at the top, Lorna Slater and Humza Yousaf. Thank you for that, and I'm coming up. You have to wonder about Lorna Slater's sanity. She commissions a report, she reads the report, and then she says things that are the complete opposite of what's written in the report. Then she puts the report out late at night hoping nobody would notice. And of course everybody notices. And then she still insists it's Westminster's fault when it quite clearly isn't. It even says in your own report. The woman lives in an absolute fantasy land. What is wrong with her? She deserves to be in a home, not in bloody Parliament. Unbelievable, isn't it? But there it is. She's got it. Black and white. Her report. Not London's fault. It's definitely her fault. She's the one who didn't put the application in until the 6th of March this year. And it was turned around in 6 weeks. Astonishingly fast for government. And yet there we are. What do you expect from these people? Who votes for them? You think they're stupid? The people who vote for them must be stupid. Anyway, I shall round off there. Very happy with that because it just goes to show that we were right. Until next time, stay safe, stay well. Please, God, keep recycling, but don't use their stupid scheme. And goodbye.